violence cause such silence. We must be mistaken. But you see, it's not me, it's not my family. In your head, they are fighting with their tanks and their bombs and their bombs and their guns. In your head, they are dying. It's in your head, in your head. Zombie, zombie, zombie. In your head, yeah. In your head, zombie. Another hand slowly, child is slowly taken. The violence caused such silence. We must be mistaken. But you see, it's not me, it's not my family. In your head, they are fighting with their tanks and their bombs and their bombs and their guns. In your head, they are dying. In your head, zombie, zombie, zombie. It's in your head, zombie. Close to midnight, something evil's lurking in the dark. Under the moonlight, it tries to see that stops your heart. You try to scream, but terror takes the sound before you make it. You start to freeze as horror looks you right between the eyes. You're paralyzed, 'cause it's a thriller night. No one's gonna save you from the beast with 40 eyes. And it's a thriller night, yeah. Thriller, killer tonight. You hear the door slam, realize there's nowhere left to run. You feel the cold hand, it's saying that I never see the sun. You close your eyes and hope that this is just imagination. And all the while, you hear the creature that's creeping up behind. You're out of time. It's a thriller, thriller night. No one's gonna save you from the beast with 40 eyes. It's a thriller. It's a thriller. It's a thriller. Thriller. Thriller night. Darkness falls across the land. The midnight hour is close at hand. Creatures crawl in search of blood to terrorize y'all's neighbor. And whosoever shall be found within the souls for getting down must stand and face the hounds of hell and rot inside a corpse's shell. The foul stench is in the air, the funk of 40,000 years. The grilly ghosts of every tomb are closing in, seal your doom. And though you fight to stay alive, your body starts to shiver. For no mere mortal can resist the evil of the thriller. Up to the fast. I'm tense and nervous and I can't relax. I can't sleep cause my bed's on fire. Don't touch me, I'm a real live wild say. Psycho killer, qu'est-ce que c'est? Better run, run, run. Run, run away. Oh, 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 oh. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You start a conversation, you can't even finish it. You're talking a lot, but you're not saying anything. Oh, you're talking a lot, now I'm sick for real. Say something once now, why say it again, sing it. Psycho killer, qu'est-ce que c'est? Better run, 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 run away. Oh, 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 oh. Yeah, 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 yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, that was a Halloween mashup for you all. My name is Ben Hammond, getting things started for this SketchUp Halloween edition. I hope you guys are doing well out there in the world. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are going to tune you over to your gracious hosts. who not only look handsome as heck, but pretty good.
Yeah! Ben!
Coral!
Hellhound, everyone. Oh, man.
Yeah, you just always find a way to up level. When you pulled the bow out, I was like, what's he gonna do for the last one? I don't know. Like pull a trombone out. Oh,
Awesome choice, man.
So,
good work.
Yeah,
you're not
Psycho
looking
Killer.
so good. What happened this week? You doing okay there? You're just barely hanging on, looks like.
I love Halloween. It's
There's a hole in my heart that can only...
Yeah, we got to get through this thing so I can eat because I feel like I got nothing in my stomach at all right now.
You're just a shell of the man you used to be, Aaron.
That's right.
Oh, man.
Bob says I look good though. That's the important part.
That's right. You're yeah. So check it out, everyone. Big round of applause. Ben Hammond.
Thank you so much, Ben.
Dropping the Psycho Killer. Drop it. I mean, yeah. So
that was great.
That
was awesome.
Very awesome. Very awesome. So hot diggity dog. Hey, ghouls and goblins. Welcome everything to the SketchUp Fireside Chat series, Spooky Edition. We're your host, Scaren Dietzen, and the Goose. And if you're new to the series, welcome to week 7 of our 8-week SketchUp virtual community experience that is both fun and informative. If you're returning, welcome back around the cauldron. Yes.
That's right. This would be a good one. This week I'm totally excited about this because this is kind of the world that I come from. Our buddy John Brock's going to be here. If you don't know John, he's a Renaissance man. He's responsible for extension development. He's got a book out there all about using SketchUp in pre-construction and construction. So this is going to be fun. I'm super excited for this show.
Yes, me too. And for those of you who haven't been here before, the format of the show is not your typical webinar. The presentation will begin in about 30 minutes. And as a reminder, today's episode will feature an interview, a presentation, and then a community Q&A. The episode is expected to be about an hour and a half if you pour yourself a nice cup of witch's brew and get uncomfortable.
Man, my pun game is lacking. Just gonna let you guys know. I can't keep up with him. I mean, but if you're having a hard time keeping up, if your video or audio is lagging in any way, click down below. You see down at the bottom where it says get audio video help. Click on that and you'll have an opportunity to turn on compatibility mode. Compatibility mode is going to just buffer your stream and make this whole thing a much smoother experience.
That's right. And speaking of experiences, this is an interactive experience. How can you participate? Well, if you look down below, you'll see Ask a Question. That's our Q&A area. If you have something that you want to ask our guest today, John Brock, be sure to type it in there. If you see a question there that already applies, just give it an upvote. We're going to bubble those up to the top of the cauldron so that they get asked first.
And that is, I just want to point that out there.
Okay.
Those are questions for John Brock. Last time we had a little bit of confusion. Some people were asking support questions down there. John doesn't work for SketchUp support. So
no,
just clarifying.
No. If you want to ask like about Aaron's diet regimen, don't put it there. Put it in the chat or talk to us in the forum afterwards. There will be a recording of this episode available in just a few minutes after the show has concluded. So if you're missing the live stream, which I hope that you're not, but if you are, just come on back here and hit play. We'll watch it all over again. Last thing is the poll. So every time we have an episode, we like to have an interactive poll. And today's poll, if you look at the bottom of your screen here, a little red number 1 pops up. I'm going to click on that right now.
All right. So our poll today is asking what you guys are planning on doing for Halloween. So, and this is a weird one. This is not a normal, I'm going to a party or I'm going trick-or-treating. The world's crazy. So
here's our choices.
An option.
You'll be trick-or-treating, you'll have a party, you'll be doing nothing because of stupid COVID, you will have a scary movie marathon, use SketchUp to design a candy shoot because you don't want little goblins coming up to your door and you don't want to like transmit anything, right? Or I don't know yet. Yeah, so I see we have a popular pick so far. We're gonna let that run a little bit, and while that runs, Aaron, I'm just gonna take this off because man, it's hot. Yeah, so just take off your costume, dude. It's no big.
That's not really an option for some of us, Steve. We're celebrating. Put it back. We're celebrating Halloween. This is.
Oh man.
Whoa. Some of us committed more than a jacket, buddy. You just better get back in there.
I thought maybe like you would just resurrect yourself or something like that.
No, I committed big.
You're all in. Oh,
all right. So it looks like our polls numbers are still coming in, but I would say more than 50% plan to do nothing. That's too bad. I mean, I know stuff kind of sucks right now, but you should take advantage. Find the positive where you can this year. That's kind of been my mantra lately is, try to do something fun. Maybe, I don't know what that could be, but throw candy at cars that drive by, or I don't know. That's probably not good.
Eat the whole bowl of candy.
That's a better idea. Okay, so we are going to do a giveaway during this webinar.
Nice.
So in a little bit, we're going to pull John Brock up on stage, and he's going to hang out with us a little bit, and then he's going to give a presentation. During his presentation, he's going to drop a lot of facts. Like we saw a little glimpse into it. There's a lot of good information. But you got to pay attention because he's going to ask one specific question about his presentation, and the first person to answer that trivia question correctly wins a prize. What's our prize today, Guz?
Today's prize will be SketchUp for Builders, a comprehensive guide for creating 3D models using SketchUp. SketchUp for Builders is an indispensable source of information for contractors, builders, architects, interior designers, landscape architects, construction professionals, and anyone seeking to create 3D models of design and construction process, written by our guest, John Brockmonster.
Whew. That was a mouthful.
That was. Hell on here.
So, good book, and this is actually this is my copy of the book. I've read this book. This is an awesome book. John did an amazing job on this. This is, if you do any kind of design construction using SketchUp, you want this. So pay attention. Pay good attention.
That's right. As long as people are paying attention, they should also pay attention to our SketchUp community shout out. What is it? SketchUp community shout out.
There we go. I was distracted by the book and took my finger off the thumb. Okay. Our community shout out is our opportunity to spotlight what's going on with you guys, the SketchUp community. In the past, we've looked a lot at Instagram. We looked at some 3D warehouse. And today we're looking at something new because we're looking at somebody who is showing extensions for SketchUp.
Yeah, I'm going to duck out the way.
So today we're going to take a look at Medeek BIM. So Medeek is a series of extensions offered by Nathaniel Wilkerson, who I think is on here somewhere. Say hi, Nathaniel. And Medeek BIM is a super quick, super easy way to draw the framing members in your house. So there is a truss extension, there is a wall extension, and there's a foundation extension that allow you to create the framing of your structure in clicks rather than lots of clicks. So, I mean, this is something way beyond just downloading a component and dropping it in. This is an extension that goes in and frames all the stuff for you. And this is the coolest thing is Nathaniel actually offered a discount. So if you go follow the link down below, Medeek BIM, follow that and you sign up between now and Halloween, he'll actually give you a discount using the coupon code Fireside. So check that out.
Sweet. What a deal.
It's an awesome deal.
Yeah, it's a pretty good deal.
It's,
some might even say that it's
so much better than good.
I wonder if John Brock uses Medeek. What do you think?
I know that those two get along quite well. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, speaking of awesome, you know who else is awesome? Our Fireside Chat SketchUppers who have joined us here tonight. What kind of costume or costumes did you have planned to wear for Halloween?
It is, so if you're opting out, it is okay to say what you wanted to do this year. That's an acceptable presentation.
I'm going to type mine in. Yeah, go ahead and type yours in down here. And I just put Negan again.
Yeah.
It's about all I can do these days. Thanks to Jody for letting me borrow his squeaky jacket here. Can you hear this? Listen. Can you hear that? I sound like a creaky door. Hopefully that's not my elbows that are actually making that sound. But
Jody's going as Aang. That'll be fun. Ooh, Indy. Mm-hmm. I love that. That's yes. A solid. Oh, got a Day of the Deader. Nicole, that'll be
Yes.
good.
Yes.
Some sugar skull makeup.
Mhm.
I know. See, this is the contradiction, right? We just asked you, and more than half of you said you're not doing anything, and then we said, "Oh, cool. What are you dressing up as when you do nothing?"
What had you planned on? Yeah, I know. Aubrey did Belle from Beauty and the Beast, right? Is that the right one?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
very cool stuff.
Yeah, not a lot of extensions, not a lot of costumes out there.
Oh man. Okay, and then Nathaniel
All right.
says the Fireside coupon will give you a significant discount on the MIDI B and BIM bundle. Be sure to use it if you decide to purchase the bundle. And obviously
Check that
a
out for
huge,
sure.
huge time saver. Aaron, I think since a lot of people probably aren't going to be dressing up, we should probably just get right into the meat and potatoes.
Yeah, let's move in. Let's nickname John's nickname in college, I believe, was the meat and potatoes. So let's bring him up on stage. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here he is, the man of the hour, Mr. John
Brock. Welcome. He's coming on stage now. I see him. He's creeping onto the stage. Yeah.
What's up?
Hey, John.
Hey, you guys.
Hey.
Welcome
to Fireside Chat, John.
How you doing?
Glad you could join us around the fire today.
Yeah.
I'm around the fire. I'm actually quarantined in my home studio, so you can see all my stuff in the background. But had a COVID test yesterday. Yay for me.
Yeah. That's scary.
I've heard some mixed reviews on that because I've heard people who had were coughing, or some people even had nosebleeds afterwards. I went and got one, and it tickled me. I laughed for. I felt bad for the lady doing it because I'm like, I just couldn't stop giggling as she was showing this.
Only a zombie would laugh.
It's deep because I was talking to my doctor yesterday morning, and I was all sputtery and stuff in my throat. And I'm a friend of his. I was in a band with him for a long time. And so he goes, "Man, you sound like crap." He said, "Get your butt in here and get a COVID test." And so now I'm nursing some tea. My throat's a little bit better this morning. So hopefully we'll get through it. And
Nice.
we'll go from there.
Well, you're a very positive person, John. Hopefully your test shows up negative.
That's right.
I do have some Halloween pumpkins back there.
I see that. It's awesome.
And then I'm going as a SketchUp geek. So
hey, you had me. I was sold on it.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So, Mr. Brock, we want to ask you a couple questions if it's all right with you.
Go ahead.
All right. So now, me personally, I don't know a lot about construction. I know about deconstruction, but I do know that you, not only do you know about construction, you're quite the musician. You're responsible for a number of extensions. You're an author. So let's find out more about John Brock. Like, what was your? See if you can go back this far. What was your first job, and what did you like or dislike about that job?
First job, I was a janitor after
really?
School. Yep.
Like Goodwill Hunting style?
That was during high school before college. Then I taught guitar all through college and then started in the construction world right out of college.
Get after it.
It's all I've ever done. I'm old. So. I'm a grandfather, I believe. I've been doing this stuff for 30 some years. So
wow. That's awesome. So Guz mentioned extensions. You yourself were not a developer. We should point that out. Like
I am not. I can't code anything, man.
I'm with you. I
tried. I thought my brother's a geek. He can do that stuff. I could do it, but no, it just goes.
But you are responsible for launching several extensions into the world. How many extensions are you up for? Like how many are you responsible for?
I have 5, but there's 4 that people know about that we sell. One of them I just haven't done anything with, but actually it was you and Mark Harris and some other ones that got me into it because we were talking I was presenting for you guys at AIA like eons ago, 7-8 years ago, whatever it was. And I kept talking to you guys like, man, I need a way I can model this beautiful roof. How many squares of shingles are on it, or how many sheets of drywall? And you guys would look at me like I had 2 heads, man. I remember we did a Google Hangout and all you guys were in Boulder and it was my office in Virginia, and I was like, I need this, I need that. And you're like, well, you can hire a developer.
Yeah.
So I did. So we came up with Estimator in 2015. And then I needed a framing extension. That was before Nathaniel came out with his. I came out with mine about the same time or right before, but so I needed one. So I hired a guy to do that. Have Issue Tracker, which is a really cool markup tool right inside of SketchUp. You don't have to leave. It creates these really cool 3D vignettes and what the description is, and then PDF Importer, which is something we use every day. So I have 2 SketchUp employees now, full-time guys, that's all they do. And we bring in floor plans every day because we're working for builders across the country. So in our own construction operations, we use it, but then we're working for builders now with Constructability 3D, where they send us their architectural and structural drawings, and then we build a really detailed 3D model, like Bob McCarter, who's online. Give him a shout out. He does the same thing out in California. And so we're trying to change the world of construction by, everybody seeing it before it's built. So we got that passion. We're going to keep it going.
Yeah, it's a whole lot cheaper to cut a virtual LVL in half than a real one.
Dude, I tell you, we catch so many problems, and we take the actual trusses from the truss vendors and stick them in. I love Medique's truss plugin. I use it for conceptuals, but I don't use it for the actual trusses on a job because I need to know exactly what they're sending me. And we'll snap them right on the plate where they go, and there's a toilet over a truss, or there's, ductwork won't work. We catch these problems before they're ever even done, and now we're doing it for other builders, so we're saving them a ton of money and grief. Awesome. And that's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah. The future of construction, and I dig it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So now, John, you can't spell Brock without rock, right?
That's right.
I see a bunch of guitars in the background here. Do you recall the first concert that you ever went to?
Van Halen.
Oh,
you don't want to think about that, huh?
Autographed album. And sadly we lost Eddie last week. Man.
Yeah, that's
I'm a huge Eddie Van Halen. In fact, my dog's name was Halen. My first computer, this is going to be geeky. My first computer password was Halen. Before you had to go to whatever characters. This was before PCs, guys. This was like mainframe computers in college, and had to come up with a password, so it was Halen.
No,
that's awesome.
That's
cool.
Yeah. Well, better than my first concert. Yeah.
Who was that?
What was yours?
Yeah, MC Hammer. Don't tell anyone. Yeah. Scary.
I thought maybe it was gonna be Cher or something.
No.
So I got a question for you, because we were just talking about moving construction forward, bringing it into the future. I think that was the term that came up. I gotta say, from my own experience, construction, just the whole industry, is slow to change. Are you seeing that? Are you having your customers pushing back on you trying to do this level of work, or are you seeing more and more people embrace it?
I'm getting more and more people embracing it, but Bob and I we have this conversation a lot. We're trying to get people to understand that we're not costing them money. They're going to save money. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like a form of insurance. They just think it's an upfront cost when really we're saving them money. As soon as they see it, they get it. And the smart ones are doing it. They're putting it above the line. It's just another job cost. And they're saving money. So we're making headway, but I've got a core group of builders that we work for. And we're trying to grow that now. So I've got a full-time employee that's all he does now. He manages constructability. He manages works the liaison with the builder. So I'm trying to just get more of them so I can have more technicians and more SketchUp licenses, right?
That's right. Hey, works for me. I think Bob just nailed it. Dragging the custom home industry, kicking and screaming into the 21st century.
We have a lot of conversations about that. It's getting there though. I mean, people think it's cool, and we're taking out in the field now. I mean, I take my iPad out and we're framing a roof right now, and I'm going out there and going, guys, that rafter is, this to this. It's whatever that dimension is from long to short. Cut it. And they're like getting out there framing squares and doing it old school stuff. And I'm like, I'm telling you right now, cut that. It will fit.
That's awesome.
We'll get there.
It's like magic.
Someday.
Yeah.
I want the big job site kiosk or job site, like a big screen, like Guz, you told me about Apple TV would work with it. And it works great. You can just
good.
The SketchUp viewer, you can sit there and cruise around on your phone, but show it up on a big screen.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But I'm in West Virginia, so trying to get a bunch of carpenters and stuff.
and that's one good thing about having people like you, John, like such a close relationship with our organization, with SketchUp, because you're full of great ideas and maybe things that we hadn't considered yet, and we'd love to hear them. And if there's people out there watching who want to help contribute to us building a better product, go to the forum, let us know.
Yeah I got lots of ideas.
Indeed, a fountain.
And you guys have heard a lot of them, and me and my buddy Dwayne Addy driving you guys crazy. So
yeah, but we love it. We love it.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Good deal. Good deal.
Cool.
Yeah, I have one more question that's a little bit off topic here. If you could have a celebrity best friend, what celebrity would you choose and why?
Not Eddie Van Halen.
Well, you took it.
Yeah. You could choose Keanu Reeves. He plays guitar.
Yeah, he's badass too.
Yeah.
I would have said Eddie just because of somebody that was inspiring to me as a kid to learn from.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's a good answer. That is a good answer.
That is a good answer. Yeah. Good
All right,
deal.
So, one last question, because it's just something you mentioned. I do remember when it was you doing this. This was a service that you personally were working on. You subcontracted some extension developers, but Brockworks was John Brock. Mm-hmm. And you were actually doing framing while trying to get this thing up and running. But now you actually have a team. How big is Brockworks nowadays?
Well, we are, the construction company is, I've got a VDC coordinator, virtual design construction coordinator, and he's like the gatekeeper for the models. The guy can model anything I give him. He goes to our client meetings. The client picks out this tile, this border, this accent tile, whatever, this hardwood, this paint color. It goes in the model. And then he controls what goes out to the field, purchase orders and things like that. So that's on the construction side. And then on the constructability side, he works on that side as well. But otherwise, I have just the one guy that's in charge of that. So we're hoping to add some more guys as soon as we add more builders.
That's awesome.
So it's just 3 of us right now. And on the construction side, we have a field superintendent. So 4 total.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, man. But construction-wise, it's slamming. We got a ton of houses coming up, which is keeping me out of the office and away from SketchUp more. But it's all good.
Dang it!
Yeah, dang it, ruined. Hey, Aaron, Scarin.
Yes, Ghost.
John Brock's a pretty sharp guy. I think that we should hit him with a game. What do you think?
I think it is.
Game time! That's right, John Brock. Today we're going to ask you to review haunted houses and tell us what is wrong with each of the models.
Oh, boy. I'm the inspector now.
This is it. This is going to be good. So Guz, I'm going to ask you to duck your head.
Will do.
I can show this to Mr. Brock. All right, John, I'm going to bring up some SketchUp models, and you're going to do on-the-fly reviews of these models to tell me what is wrong. Are you ready for this?
I guess so.
All right, you got this. You got this. I know you do. All right, we're going to start with some trusses. All right, so you see a model like this. What's the problem here, John?
You're missing a sky hook.
Support from above.
Trusses. Yeah.
That is correct. Trusses, in general, should have at least 2 bearing points. That's right. That's not going to work. Okay, moving forward. Here I got a nice big garage door header, about 16 feet across there. You see anything wrong with this issue?
There are no jack studs.
That is also correct. Yes. Much like trusses, it is good to have headers get supported as well. Hey, everybody watching, if you guys spot it before John, feel free to throw the answer into the chat. So he just said he's looking to expand his workforce. So maybe if you're really good on this could be an on-the-fly job interview.
Nice.
As usual, nothing I said should be taken as truth. Okay, moving on. Here we got some. I know you work with floor trusses primarily. These are I-joists, but do you see anything wrong with this span right here?
It's about 10 times longer than it possibly could be.
That is right. Despite being 16 inches deep, I-joists cannot clear span 171 feet. Okay.
Moving springy.
Yes, that's right. A couple people called that out as having no rim board. That would be an issue also.
But my mind went to the span first, but yes.
I would have the bigger issue with shipping that 171-foot I-joist probably before I worried about getting the rim joist on there. All right. Here we have a cantilever condition, and I wouldn't doubt if you've actually seen this because I've seen this in plans before. What's not good about this?
If you flip that other way around, that you got to be at least twice, or if not 4 times more in than you are out, and they've got the other way around.
That is absolutely correct. The back span should be at least twice of the actual cantilever length. I'm surprised that that is still a thing that gets called out by people. But all right.
That's what trusses look like when we used to install them before we had cranes. Literally, you'd set one up on either end of the plate like that, and you'd take a big long 2x4 with another 2x4 tack to it, push it up to get it vertical, but they're upside down.
That is right. The general rule of thumb I was taught with trusses is pointy side up.
Nice.
All right, you're doing good. I think you're 6 for 6 so far, John. I'm sold on your deliverable, but let's grab a couple more questions and just see. Okay, here we have what could be a potential issue for the plumber. What do you see here?
You can't cut an I-joist or a truss if there's a toilet above it like that. It has to be headed off or engineered if you do any kind of cutting. So
that is true. Also, you should put the toilet in after the sheathing and not before.
Yeah, pretty much.
Why is there a zombie under them?
Yeah.
This is the constructability in me because that's how we show it. But anyways.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's keep moving forward. All right. What is the problem with this floor system?
Is that Guz trying to hold up the other end of that meme?
That is right.
I could do it for a little while.
The problem is a Guz can only be used as interior bearing. He's not rated for exterior support.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And here we go. This is going to be our 8th and final question. What is wrong with this structure?
What is right with it?
Boom! Everything is wrong. That is absolutely correct. Well, I gotta say, if I was looking for somebody to review my plans, you've proven it to me. You got the goods. I'm very happy with your answers.
Excellent work. Good deal. Well, that was you were 8 for 8. I'm very impressed. I'm not surprised though. And I think we're getting ready to get into the big juicy part of this awesome presentation here. So first, before we do that, let's get some housekeeping out of the way. Again, if you have a question down below where it says ask a question, just click on that, type in your question, or upvote the ones you like. And then when this whole thing is over, when the show's over, be sure to join us at the Fireside Lounge. John Brock will be there answering questions that we did not get to before the end of the show.
Can I take my guitar in there?
You can take whatever you want.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
That's right. So we're going to hop in. Again, I'm just going to stress it. I know you guys are asking great questions in the chat. That's awesome. But John's got a lot of content to get through. He's not going to be able to watch the chat that way. So drop them into the ask a question at the bottom, and we will ask him those questions at the end. Those questions are questions for John about what he's presenting, not necessarily support or anything like that. So with that,
take
I think
it
we're ready
away,
to hand it
John.
over. Remember, pay attention because John's going to ask a trivia question at the end.
Keep your fingers limber. See you soon.
All right. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I will hide this. All right. So SketchUp for builders, as we're talking about. I think I've already told you guys all this stuff. Been building for a very long time. I am a grandfather. I don't look that way, but I'm a grandfather. Author of SketchUp for Builders, which they showed you. I do have an accompanying website called SketchUpForBuilders.com, the number 4. I'm meant to be a resource site for people to check out and learn more things about SketchUp. It's got a bunch of heavy players on there that you can interact with. You got Nick Sonder, Mike Brightman, Dwayne Addy, Daniel Tall, and Team Zachary Engineering. So you can actually ask them questions directly inside the website, which is kind of cool. And if they don't answer, let me know.
We should point out that David Zachary engineers using SketchUp. There's not a whole lot of them out there, so he's an amazing resource to use.
Yeah, and it's actually his whole team. So you have the other guys on there that can answer questions. So meant to be a resource site for you guys. Also, SketchUp developer. We mentioned the products. I'll go and show you those as we go. And also mentioned the consulting that we're doing called Constructability, constructability3d.com. So that's sort of the things we got going on. Brockworks is a custom home design build company. Brockworks Tech is the consulting and the products side of things. So getting started, if you saw Nick Saunders' awesome Fireside chat, he talks about how he uses the site to develop the design and then bring it all to life in construction drawings. But the reality is for us I'm going to take it from the building side. So 99.9% of builders don't get a cool Nick Saunders set of plans and a model. And, everybody works off of 2D drawings still for the most part. There's some CAD out there. There's some, 3D models out there. But for the most part, most builders are working off of 2D. So we want to bring those things to life. We'll talk about some need to know tips and tricks and extensions along the way. And then finally, how we share our models with our clients and with the other stakeholders in the process and the projects. Construction phases, we use scenes in SketchUp to phase everything in scenes because our clients and our trades can click through scenes a lot easier than worrying about how to cut layers off and on or tags. But we do site modeling, which is really can be the most difficult thing to learn. I'll show you some of that stuff, but it's certainly not something to demo in this time frame. Foundations, framing, where we get the trusses from our vendors, exterior finishes, where we actually will apply the finishes that our clients select onto the models. Interior finishes the same way. If there's an interior designer involved, we work with them to try to bring even their SketchUp entities. So Tammy Cody did a great presentation on her Fireside chat. So I'd love to be able to work with somebody like her to be able to bring her stuff, have another fellow SketchUp person would be great. And then finally, virtual tours, renderings, and animations, and the deliverables that we provide our people. Just a little aside, we were talking about the music thing. When COVID first hit, and I play in a popular 80s band around, and, everything shut down, all the venues shut down, all of our gigs were canceled. Everything's pushed into next year at this point. And so it started out during the quarantines. I was just me on my acoustic, and I'd post a song on Facebook every weekend or whatever. Then I finally started bringing some friends over, and it sort of took off to where past bandmates or current bandmates would come over, and we would do, a song and put it on Facebook for everybody. And this one particular episode, a former bandmate wanted to do a Thin Lizzy song, and the boys are back in town, and it's his bucket list to sing a Thin Lizzy song in a pub in Ireland. And so I thought, wouldn't that be cool to have a virtual stage and use our geek skills in SketchUp? So I reached out to my dear friend Dwayne Addy up in Canada, who is Irish, and said, you don't happen to have a pub model laying around, do you? Next morning, he sends me this model of this most killer rendering photo reel, the Guinness bottle. So I dirtied it up. I threw some brick on the wall and a bunch of photographs and stuff. And that Ampeg amp, Aaron's a bass player, by the way. Do you see the Ampeg amp? And there's 2 Marshall amps on stage that I got off a 3D warehouse.
That's a big one.
Yeah, and then so rendered it, did an animation coming in, but then green screened us in there. So that's us with Brock's Pub.
That's awesome.
So everybody came over at different times. That's how we work these things. My other drummer in the current band I'm in now he'll send me his video and audio tracks, and then I just start building the song from there and having guys come over. But so it's Brockworks Music if you're interested in checking that out, how we use SketchUp and Inkscape to bring that to life.
It's worth checking out. It's definitely a fun thing to see.
Yeah, it's fun. We've been having a blast with it. So all right, so here's the workflow. And excuse me if my throat goes out. This throat's not been in the best shape the last couple of days.
Doing good so far.
Having that Q-tip stuck up and piercing my brain yesterday morning for a COVID test was not fun. All right. So the first thing we do is we import our main floor plan. All right. And we don't use raster image for the floor plan. It needs to be a vector base, something we can snap to and measure. And so there's some free ways of doing it. I've tried every other way under the sun, and I finally found a developer to help me out by doing PDF Importer. So PDF Importer, if you've heard about it, is our plugin that's available. And what that does was imports a vector-based PDF directly into SketchUp. But you can also do it for free if you have Inkscape. You can open up that PDF and convert it to a CAD file. You could use Adobe Illustrator, which I used to pay all that money for Adobe Illustrator just to open up a PDF, export it as a DWG. That was the only reason I had it. So I saved money by going to the PDF importer. But it won't bring in the text. Like if you brought in a DWG, you get the floor plan from an architect. When you bring it in, it's just a bunch of lines and maybe boxes where the text is. So it's really cool to be able to see, that that's a 2852 window or see that dimension. So that's the first thing we do. But importantly, we clean it up. We get rid of unnecessary title blocks and text, things you just don't need to see, because as any purist will tell you that that's not text, it's edges and thousands of them, and it can really slow down SketchUp. So we clean up any unnecessary stuff, and then we scale it. So this comes in as a group, and so you just double click on the group, pick 2 dimensions that you know, and type in that dimension, hit enter, it'll resize it. And then finally, I center the floor plan at the 0, 0, 0. And I could just move it roughly, but I use Chris Fulmer's just to give him a shout out, his free plugin called Center on Origin. So for me, it's Alt-C will just take it and move it right to the center. And so that puts the floor plan at 0, 0, 0.
Nice.
Right. The next step is we create what us old carpenters call a story pole, and I use guide points. So I find a common corner. What you're seeing is a looking down in a perspective view. Find a common corner to each level in the house. In this case, I used a corner on the interior, but on the rear of the house. And then I'll go up with a guide point. That's right where subfloor will be. I go up with a guide point, whatever the wall heights are. So you refer to your section drawings and your elevations. So in this case, 9 1/8 up. I go guide point down 3/4 for subfloor, then one down 9 1/4 because I got a 2x10 band on the truss, mid-cord bearing truss. Then 1.5 inch sill plate, and then a down 10 feet for the bottom of the foundation, coming up 4 inches because I got a 4-inch slab. And then finally on the back of the house, they're 18-inch floor trusses. They're mid-cord on the front, bottom cord on the back. So I'll come down 18 inches from under the subfloor for the floor trusses. And that gives me my story pole. That's where I know all the elevations need to work out to. And I've locked that in a group with the guide points, but we use guide points and guidelines constantly. And Control G is our edit, delete guides, right? Well, it would delete these guides, even though it was in a locked group. So I found a free plugin called Locked Guide Saver. So I use that instead of edit, delete guides. My shortcut runs that script and it'll delete all the guides, but what's in that locked group. So that was pretty cool. All right. And the next thing we do is we'll import the other plans. So I usually do that always do that in a clean file. Because if you keep importing plans, it can really start bogging things down. So I'll go into a clean file, import it. In this case, I only had one other level. That's the lower level. Do the same process by cleaning it up, scaling it, and then I'll actually copy it and then paste it into the main model and move it to where it's supposed to be on that level. In this case, it'd be on the top of the slab. So I'll move it to that same exact corner. And then I usually go top view, parallel projection, and go around the perimeter to make sure that the walls align. Because as Bob McCarter will tell you, there's times where, the architect may move a wall on one level and forget to move it on another level. It's happened. Mm-hmm. And so that's a way of discovering that. So that's how we verify. That's how we got our stack. Okay. So then it's kind of like what Nick showed with the contours. We work on our site plans and our site models because there's no sense in modeling a foundation with just a simple stepped footing for frost depth or whatever you're doing it for. If you don't know how your terrain is, you may have some sub foundations to deal with. So in this case, what you're seeing down, this came from my surveyor actually. They send me a DWG or DXF that has the site or the 2D plat down at the bottom. And in our case, we're building on a lake that the full pond is 795 or contours 800 feet elevation is what the property lines are at. Power company owns everything below that. So all these contours are floating 800 feet up above the ground. Now I think in Nick's case, it was like 6,000 feet or something. And so he moves them down. I generally, just to keep the math easy, I'll keep them at the 800, at least at first. And so what I do is you'll see you want the site plan to have obviously the house located. If it's got the driveway located and roads and stuff, you can actually trace those, use that to create faces that you can then drape on your site, which is really handy. Sidewalks and things like that. But you also want it to have the elevation specified for where the finished floor is going to be, whether it's main floor, usually it's the slab elevation. So what you're seeing is these contours that are 2 foot apart, and they're just lines, right? So the first thing I have to do is actually make a site plan or a site model, and it's got to be in 3D. It has to report as a volume or report a volume, so it has to be a solid. And you can't just do a mesh if you want to know what your cut and fill is going to be, which is very important to us. So in this case, I use Fredo's Topo Shaper, which is a free extension, but it doesn't make a solid right away. It'll put that skirt on there, but you have to actually edit it to make that a solid. Lately, I've been using Christina Interos Terrain Volume, which is a free plugin. And so you can use from contours to take those contour lines to create the 3D mesh, and then run her script, and it makes a perfect solid chunk that reports a volume. All right. So once I have that existing site modeled, it's important that I take the site into the main model and I align it with the house, the main model. I don't align the house to fit on the site, because you want the house to stay in red and green axes, right? So what I do is I'll take that house that you see down on the bottom here, the one of the corners, I'll take from the house here and actually put it onto the basement floor plan in our main model, find a known corner, and then cue to rotate it to align to stack to fit perfectly. And then simply take that whole thing. It was specified at 821.25 feet is where the slab elevation was. Just moved it straight down in the blue, 821.25. So you can see the basement floor plan is sticking out of the ground a little bit, and the rest is underground, as you would expect. And so now we've got the site aligned with the house perfectly. So one of the next steps I do is use a free plugin called Solar North. And I think it used to be included, didn't it, Aaron, in SketchUp?
It's always been an extension from the SketchUp team.
I thought years ago that it was part of it. But anyways, so I use Solar North if you've got North Arrow on your plan. See, I don't use geolocate because I'll use it for a quick test of a house, or if I haven't got topos yet. But once I have good firm topos from the surveyor, or we generate them, I failed to mention we have an RPT 600 now, and we can go out and get our own shot points and create our own topography now, as long as it's a cleared lot. But we set Solar North because you just simply use the middle tool to set Solar North, and I just pick the south end of the arrow and click to the north end of the arrow, and then you could toggle Solar North off and on. But we use that so we can do sun studies with the clients later, because we put them into Inkscape, and they can do UNI on their keyboard and see where the sun's coming in and going, oh, it's going to be right in our eyes at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. or whatever. So it's a really cool, powerful tool. As I said in number 1 here, I might be the only person on the planet that would model an excavated site like this. And Mike Brightman, I think if you're on there, you're rolling your eyes at me, because he gives me so much grief about this stuff. So this is an excavated site. I actually used Dale Martin's Profile Builder. I could not work without it. So if you don't have Profile Builder, just get it. It's the best plugin. It's the one I use every day. And I use an assembly for the silt fencing that has the stakes in the fence, but what I'm getting out of that is my budget. Not only am I planning out where the silt fencing needs to go, so my guys know where I want it to go, but I've got my budget instantly in Estimator. I'll do my construction entrance for the gravel there. I've got a job sign I'll show you. And portable toilet was just I could use that as a quote, but I just threw one in there as a component I got off the 3D warehouse and put a dollar amount to it, and now I got my estimate.
Perfect.
But we'll do the excavated site because this particular job is the house I just actually moved the people into 2 weeks ago. And I had 300 cubic yards of dirt to get rid of from that. And I needed to know where I was going to put that. So it helped me to plan this during this early stage of construction. So this is not a step in the process, but we actually do job signs for each house, a custom 24 by 36 sign that we post out front. In this case, we're built on a lake. These signs are like $30 foam core signs, 24 by 36. So that was done in Lumion. And so we got our job information on there. And then this one was down by the lake because you got both ways that you can see the house. So so we put those up there for the people. And usually I get Dwayne Addy to do it because Dwayne is like the best rendering guy I've ever met. So we do a lot of work together. So sometimes I'll pawn that off on him.
That's good.
Yeah, so this excavated site thing, you can see in this drawing maybe that the foundation wall, I didn't design this one, the architect that did stopped the foundation wall sort of midway, but you can see that's well underground. And unless you're going to use retaining walls, we needed to extend the concrete down. And so I caught this when I model these houses to estimate them, right? So I was able to know that my foundation needed to be extended versus finding out in the field that I was going to have to do that. So that really comes in handy. And all this is a 3-foot over dig around the perimeter. And if you've ever done site modeling, I basically take the existing site and I copy it and paste it in place immediately. And while it's still selected, I change that from my site existing to my site excavated. So it's 2 copies of the same thing, cut off the existing site and then modify the excavated site to suit my needs, right? And so you basically cut on hidden geometry and you delete all the surface that you're going to be disturbing. And then you have to build it back up. And it's way too complicated to discuss in this one. But I am working on a full video series. Now that I have a new superintendent that I just hired this week, it's going to get me back in the office. And I'm working on a full video series on how to build a house in SketchUp, not just from the book. So this would be a step-by-step video. I use either native SketchUp tools or Profile Builder to model the footings. Now that we're doing this stuff for guys around the country, we're getting into a lot of crazy different footing sizes and piers built into the footings where the parametric stuff really just is too hard to work with. And I really need to work with Nathaniel on his. We're going to be talking after this. But there's still some things where parametric just doesn't get it perfectly, and I got to do it the old-fashioned way. But in this case, I use Profile Builder for my footings, and I use an assembly that's got my rebar already in it. So there's 2 runs of rebar in it. All the rebar that you see, I modeled using Profile Builder, just the one piece, and then moved it around, or the horizontals I just traced around. But this not only is how I have to build it, and my guys see what they have to do, I've got my real-time quantities and estimator, which, you know, is priceless. Foundation walls. Some people may have seen this this Profile Builder assembly I did years and years ago. But that one assembly in Profile Builder, just by tracing the perimeter, will give me my footing with 2 runs of rebar in it, my foundation wall with expansion joint on the inside, waterproofing on the outside, drain tile and drain tile gravel, a sill plate that's sitting a 1/2 inch in so sheathing can flush out, and then anchor bolts within 1 foot from the end and 6 foot on center. All that crap from just tracing one simple path. So if it's a simple foundation, this works well. In this case, I had some stepped walls, and so I have to modify those. And I know that Medik's got a way of editing his walls now that will allow for these steps. And so once we got our foundation in, I put it back into that existing site just to make sure that those steps worked out right as a verification. Slab prep, I put actually the gravel underneath the basement slab, and we'll put the foam insulation. And again, that's a profile and Profile Builder that as I trace that around, it's a once and done thing, and it automatically goes in my budget. Basement slab, I've got a slab tool that comes with Estimator, where you can just simply trace a face going around the perimeter, pull it up 4 inches, make it look like concrete, put it on a group. Now in my case, in my template file, I've got a basement slab layer, or tag now. And that simple action of modeling that slab, as soon as I do it, I've got all my costs associated with it in seconds. So at this point, I could actually run a report for how much my foundation costs just as I've modeled it. I'm not having to go and model something and then go measure stuff off the plans. It's all real time. If I made any changes to that, I just rerun the report because it's a real-time estimate. So then I frame the wall. So in this case, we're framing it right on top of the slab, just like you would in real life, just like you've chalked walls. Now we use Framer for SketchUp, which is one of our extensions. We're able to use whatever sheathing you want, zip or plywood or OSB or Dens glass. You can make up your own. You can make up your own thicknesses and sizes. Any kind of stud size you would want, not metal studs, but any kind of wood studs and plates and headers with whatever configuration. In your quiz, Aaron, you mentioned about no jacks in there.
Mm-hmm.
So in our plugin, you can say how many king studs you want, which is beside the header, how many jacks you want. And then again, it all works with Estimator. So our VDC coordinator will then take that lower level framing package when our superintendent calls and says, hey, I need the first framing pack. He's already got that generated, and that's the purchase order of the materials that's being sent out. What you're seeing over here off the side is actually wall braces. How am I going to model wall braces, right? How do I get a quantity for that? So I just did a stack of 12-foot 2x4s, 30 of them, because that's about what it takes on a given level, and throw that into the model. So it's not a perfect way of doing it. And I don't know how Revit or any of those other things are going to be that perfect either. You know, it's one of those things that you have to use some judgments.
But it's still, I mean, it's still a huge step in the right direction, right? I mean, it's never going to be perfect, but it's going to be better than the old way.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And so you got to find a place to work with. So floor systems, like I said, I use Nathaniel's truss when I'm designing a house and I want to figure out, okay, I've got trusses here, floor trusses here, roof trusses there. But when it comes down to the actual job, I need to get the actual trusses from the vendor. And what they can do is they can, when they're in something like MyTech, if they use MyTech, you are in there viewing their 3D trusses. They can do view save as and call it floor trusses or roof trusses, whatever. And that gives them a DXF or DWG file that they send us. Then we basically bring them into SketchUp. We used to have to scale them. Now they seem to come in on scale. And they come in as just white, you know, default white SketchUp color. And so we'll make them, texture them to look like wood, the gang nails to look like gang nails. And then we snap them right on the plate where they go. Like literally it's supposed to start here. And in this case, just like your trivia thing, both ends of the house had toilets sitting on top of trusses. And there was a chimney flue coming up through here that was hitting a truss square on. And so I had to, this is the second revision or third revision of the trusses. So I had them correct that. Otherwise that would have been a total nightmare. Decks, I normally will do with joists as components, and all the rim boards and band boards I'll do with Profile Builder, and then Estimator takes the total lineal footage divided by 16, and I'll just order 16-foot material typically. But joist hangers and deck tension kits and all that kind of stuff are modeled in exactly how we're going to build them. Another thing we do is inspecting HVAC systems with our, I get my technician to come out, and like you can see the duct chases are aligning here and here. When I first got these, they were all over the map. And so we take the time to work with these guys to align the duct chases. We had a system going in this space because we had two zones to deal with. One's the lower level, one's the upper level, two systems. So one of them's going in this storage room, one of them's going in this storage room. So we're having to figure out how we can get it all up in the trusses without having to drop ceilings. And so he'll come over and we'll plan all this stuff out in advance, which is hugely helpful.
So that's he is the truss designer comes over and does that with you?
I study that.
Oh, it's HVAC.
Yeah, I guess the HVAC guy comes out. We do pre-construction meetings with all these guys. I get the trusses first. I'll do my evaluation, like the toilets and crap like that. Get them to send me another iteration, and I also look for the duct chases to align. But then we look at things like, where's the return air going to go? I mean, I'm getting really into the weeds. Unless you're in construction, you'll know what I'm talking about. But I can't tell you how many times people plan return air ducts and stuff like that. Like, where we're going to put it after it's already framed,
right?
You know, and nobody ever thinks about that stuff, and then you end up with a nightmare or things that are in the way. So by planning all that stuff out, it's just hugely helpful. Now you're going to see a lot of this is common and routine in commercial construction, and Revit and clash detection and Navisworks and stuff like that is probably a lot more, very common, but it's not in residential.
Yeah.
Until Nathaniel and Bob and the rest of us try to make that thing happen. All right, so then I put the subfloor down and I cut out the holes for the toilets. I usually just do main drains like that, like a toilet or I know a tub's got a drain in a certain location, any flue pipes and that sort of thing. And so what you're seeing there is essentially just as if the slab is, or the chalk the walls on the subfloor and you're ready to start framing walls. So that's when we go in and actually use framer again. In this case, we had a taller wall in the great room, and we had the garage walls had to align with the top. The walls in the front of the garage stepped up because I actually stick framed this one bay. He wanted a car lift in there. So I was able to model that with rafters and make sure that put a car lift in there that I found off the 3D warehouse, and 2 little sports cars in there, stuck them in there, made sure it all cleared. And so that's the main level framing. Just like we do with floor trusses, we'll bring in the roof trusses and snap them where they go. And as you can see here, there's plenty of areas that they couldn't truss. And a lot of builders just get the truss drawings and go, oh, cool, I got it. We're good. And then they see this and go, oh, crap, now I got to order, $1,000 worth of lumber to fill that in. So by getting the trusses first, then we can do the field framing on top of that. So I go in, and this is a time consuming thing. And I know Nathaniel's working on complex roof tool. There's just no easy way of doing a roof. This is what slows us down more than anything. And I've seen a lot of parametric stuff, and it's maybe just not perfect. It looks like it might work, but I need these seat cuts to be exactly how they're going to be and that sort of thing. So we take the time to model these rafters, valley boards, things like that. So it does take some time. Hips take a lot more time. Again, Brightman's rolling his eyes at me because it's, it's that detail. Subfascia and stuff like that. I have a profile for all the different roof pitches and subfascia because we bevel cut them. And so that's super easy. We just draw that stuff around, and anything I do like that, which I'll show you when we get to exterior trim, but there's some methods for keeping that estimated.
Nice. Bob and Tyler were just commenting on how beautiful and how detailed your work is. So,
well, thank you.
I have to agree. Yeah.
Well, we try to make it look realistic, and that's what drew me to SketchUp, because I was a soft plan guy for a number of years, and I really wanted the realistic renderings, and I was obsessed with that. And SketchUp I would use to do certain things. Like I had a house that had a cathedral ceiling with a dormer that was a barrel vaulted dormer coming into the cathedral ceiling. And in soft plan, for me to try to create that ceiling would have taken me a day or two, if it could even do it. So I went into SketchUp and modeled it in like 5 minutes, and then imported it into soft plan. And but I just became obsessed with wanting higher quality renderings and a more realistic look. And I like flying around in 3D. I don't like I can't stand parallel projection, and the whole 2D to 3D back and forth thing. Just I live inside of 3D with my 3D mouse, and that's how we see things, right? Yep. So, but thank you. We try to make these things look realistic. Like the zip system, I know that purists out there are probably giving me crap because these seams are lining up and they never would like this, but I know that. So don't throw crap at me.
No, I think something that you mentioned before that I just want to mention too, John. You said, commercial buildings are doing this kind of work and it's not a big deal for them, but they're not doing it for residential. And I mean, the issue with that is, on a big multi-million-dollar huge building, they justify that time up front to design it, but they don't want to do that in a house that they're turning around for less than that. And these steps that you guys are taking, I say you because you and the other members of the community you've been calling out are reducing the time that these steps take. Every time you do it, it gets quicker and quicker. So it's easier and easier to offer more and more of that advantage in something like a residential structure. Right.
Absolutely. Right. And then so exterior openings. Now I used a lot of Anderson windows almost exclusively, and Anderson had a free plugin that I used up until 2015 came out. And it stopped working, and the plugin stopped working. And they kept saying that they're going in a different direction and blah, blah. And I'm a certified Anderson installer. I went up there for a training thing, and I was like, give me your head computer geek, because I want my SketchUp plugin working, because I could do any configuration, a CXW 15 with 6 9/16 jams and sand tone color and all that kind of stuff. So anyways, I kept a version of 2015 on my desktop until about a year or two ago, and then that stopped working. But anyways, I had so many of these in my library that I've started just using them, but I've started using Freddo scale. I'll just take one simple casement or a simple double hung. And if Yanni's out there, he's probably going to kill me for, we'll plug Yanni. We got to talk because I got to make this thing work with your plugin as well. And but I'll use Freddo scale and use the box stretching, because if you went to scale one of these windows, and if you go, like you say you had a 1-inch frame and you scaled it left and right and made it go from 3 feet to 6 foot, well, your frames get distorted on the sides and they stay the same at the top and that sort of thing. With Freddo scale, you can box stretch those to fit perfectly. And I use that. We'll just take a simple casement and drag it around quickly, because I don't price the windows. I know I'm anal about all these other things, but the windows I get quoted. So I don't care about pricing every single window in here. And so I'll just have them as one big group, and then that component gets priced by the quote. But Freddo scale is a great plugin for making those fit. Yanni's Flex Tools, definitely check it out. It's got some really cool features that he keeps adding more stuff all the time. So we need to talk, dude.
Yeah, Yanni's in the house. I think he heard you.
All right, cool. I haven't been able to look at the chat thing. All right, so exterior trim and siding. I have to model the stuff like I'm going to build it, right? So I can't just mass model the trim. I could, and again, Mike's rolling his eyes at me, but to do all, I've got like a 5/4 by 10 band here. I've got a 5/4 by 6 frieze board, 5/4 by 4 and 5/4 by 5 corner boards, a 5/4 by 4 band down here. All the window trims 5/4 by 4, 1 by 8 for my fascias, and soffits are 12-inch, hardy soffit. And then all that stuff has to be done. I do it on individual layers for each one. So in my template, or I'll show you guys if you want to see it, but in my template, I've got down Z_, so it shoves it way down in the bottom. I've got all my lineal footage of things that I need to take off. So I just, in Profile Builder, they're assigned already to my proper layer or tag. You guys are killing me. And so
real quick, John, we got 10 more minutes. Okay, buddy?
Okay, I'm cruising. Awesome. All right, so what I do is I do all that trim that you're seeing here, and all that's in a group. Like if you were to double click on any piece of that trim, you would see this wireframe mesh of trim work. All right, but all those are on their own layers or tags, so that estimator is instantly giving me my quantities of all that. And then siding, in this case, I used, you could use the siding texture and it'll render really well, but it's kind of hard to match a perfect color. So what I like to do is, and it's realistic too, is use Chuck Valley's instant cladding, and then I can texture it with whatever color. This was the actual Benjamin Moore color that the homeowner picked out, and that you saw in that rendering over there.
Nice.
And the shakes, I wouldn't even tell you how I did those because everybody would roll their eyes at me. And then the shingles, just texture. Now that's how we get our quantities for roofs, because everything's on an irregular plane, and bounding boxes in SketchUp are not on those planes. So we use the texture inside of SketchUp. So all that you see of that surface, you got to be careful to texture it just the one face, right? But then estimator reads that total square footages, and we'll figure our sheathing, our underlayment, our shingles, and everything associated with that.
Amazing.
And then in this case, I didn't do ridge caps, but I normally will offset and do ridge caps as well. All right, so then I'll put the stone veneer on just like I would normally in building the house. And these gutters and downspouts are all done using Profile Builder. And it's really important for me that, like, I can't stand seeing a gutter wrapping around a column, or, or if you just left it to these guys, they'll put them anywhere. So we actually will model the gutters and the downspouts. I use a plugin that I have called Spin 360, which I don't have out on the market, but you go right in the center of the house, pick your center of the house, radiate out to where it's a good viewing angle, tell it how many images you want going around that circle, and say, I usually do about 30. And then it'll create 30 scenes that I can batch render in Inkscape if I want a good quality one, or just export the animation as files instead of an animation video. Creates those 30 images that I can then stitch together as a 360 spin. And then I just send that to my gutter guys on there, stick it up on my server, and I'll send it out to them, and they can spin the house around and go, okay, that's where my downspout's got to go.
Awesome.
And anybody can view it from any angle. We use a Trex rain escape system, so that's in there. Decking using Profile Builder, or I use it to make what would be a component for decking. The railings we have as components in our system. So we get down to using the actual product. This is an RDI Avalon railing system, things that are in our library that I can then get instant purchase orders based off that. Moving inside, I use these electrical, somebody came up with these, it was on the warehouse, and I just kind of morphed them to be my own, but light switches, outlets, they're spaced off a 1/2 inch so that when you're rendering, they look realistic as hell. But we put a 2D symbol to them, so as we move them around, we're getting our 2D symbol for our electrical plant. We'll insulate with, now I know Medic's tool has the insulation built in. I do not in our tool. I just simply draw these planes, texture it with the different, we'll use pink insulation for sound attenuation and stuff like that, blown cellulose or foam. And that way the client can see what it's going to be and those textures report in an estimator. We'll add drywall. My plugin and Medic's plugin will add drywall. I tend to leave the drywall off, and then I'll go back and actually model the drywall in each room. And just by drawing a face, it's a 1/2 inch around the perimeter of the plates, I'll set it a 1/2 inch. Delete that inside face, pull it up, blah, blah, blah. Texture the backside with the texture that I have called drywall 48 or drywall 54, because you got to know what size board you're cutting it out of, right? I mean, you can't just, it depends. So I've got 2 different ones that I make that judgment call, but then I texture the inside with the color that the people picked out. I did not pick out these hideous colors. I was just in that house. The people love it. So the cool thing is these people lived in New York while I was building the house. So we did all the colors that they want, sent them an Inkscape standalone executable, and she's able to walk through her whole house and yep, colors look great. Really?
Nice.
So no, they love it. That's all that matters. Right, so we do the drywall ceilings as well, and that's on a separate layer so we can control visibility. You can see that watermark that I got on there, drywall 48, and that gives me all my drywall board count, and it's been really, really accurate on these jobs. Interior finishes. This is getting into a lot of this is where the model starts to really get bogged down, because we're putting in Kohler toilets that they pick out, the cabinets. Now cabinets, we don't model them ourselves if we don't have to. Our cabinet guys typically use 2020 or something similar, and they'll export those files as usually it's a 3ds file. But then we'll bring them in, clean them all up, texture them the way they're supposed to be, and then put them in our models. But that way the client's getting to see the exact cabinets, that we're not just making it up. I model all the interior trim the same way as I did on the exterior. They're each their own profile. And so as we model it, we're getting our real-time estimate. And we'll do all the floor coverings, whatever they've specified. We try to match the tile best we can. Like in this case, she had an inlay that she wanted in the floor with this very, very specific. We had this custom shower with the pebble floor, the bench, the heavy glass. We literally stuck her in here in Inkscape, and she was standing in her shower looking around and on the Oculus and going, yeah, that's exactly right. That's what we want. And so when they moved,
hopefully.
Yeah, she was fully clothed.
Okay.
But yeah, so we try to match everything as close as possible, because we want to match their expectations. So, and then so that's all on, and we'll render that out for our job signs and so forth. But then I can select everything, select all, and then I've got my full estimate for the house. And if they change something or move something, it's going to get changed for us. We don't have to go back into Excel and change something. Deliverables. Renderings and animations and virtual tours, we use Inkscape and Lumion. We're getting more to Inkscape now because their interior renderings, I always use Lumion for renderings, and especially their exteriors, and for animations. And I was doing this huge job for some Canadians, and Dwayne Addy was working with me on that, and he did some renderings inside that I thought were Lumion or something better. They were just astonishing. That he's figured out how to do it with Inkscape now. So we're doing a lot more with that. The 360 spins was kind of cool because that's something that they can view it from any angle, and I can show you guys how to do that. I never did put that plugin out on the market just because just one more thing to deal with. But it's still pretty cool. And then one thing is I want to get out is the 360 cameras. If everybody's used one of those, I've got an Insta1 or Insta360 1X camera that I go out with a little selfie stick, and I go out where the center, like say the great room is, and I'll do the 360 shot like that, come back in Inkscape and use that as the background. And then I'm showing them the actual view. This is not a very good rendering because it's one of mine, not one of Dwayne's, but, and I cranked it out right before this thing. But that's the actual view out of their window. So as they're walking around in Inkscape, they can see what their view is. Now, it only works if you have a cleared lot, but you want to see something that drops people's jaws, man. That gets the homeowners really,
I would
really
imagine.
jazzed. Yeah. So that's all I got, guys.
Oh,
Awesome.
wow. Okay. All right.
Well, I mean, I can show you more, but that's the.
Well, let me climb
That's
back on
all.
stage here.
Just all that.
Yeah, just that. I'm gonna need to watch that 4 or 5 times just to.
I thought you were going to bring the hook out on me.
So what? I got a quick question, John, because this is something that plays in my mind. Obviously, you've spent a lot of time and energy customizing and arranging this for your workflow. How much of your process do you think people can adopt themselves and customize for their own method of building or location, that sort of thing?
I don't know. I think I'm hoping that more and more people are going to adopt it. The people that I talk to, I've got several clients that started out as my customers. They bought the stuff thinking we're going to do this in-house, and then I'll start doing something for them, and they're watching me buzz around. They're like, "Oh, screw it! I don't have time to learn this stuff. You do it." It's no different than me trying to code an extension, right? I spent hours trying to do that. I don't know how Nathan does it. Tom, Chris Fulmer, Tig, Christina. It's a whole nother brain. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what this is. It's a certain passion. Obviously, you can't shut me up on it, so I'm passionate about it. But a lot more people could do it if they had the resources, and that's what we're trying to get out there slowly.
Cool. All right. Well, as we promised, we do have a trivia question John's going to throw out now and see who wins a copy of SketchUp for Builders.
Me. I'm getting my fingers ready. Let's do this.
All right. So what was the name of the tool that we used to stack our floor plans to make sure everything's aligning?
That was it. Do you guys remember what that was called? It was one of the early slides. Early on.
Okay, let's see here. We get some people. Oh,
hey, somebody got it. Tobias?
Nice.
Tobias got it.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
Woo. Starting to think nobody was out there.
Wow. More people followed it than I would. I mean, there was so much information in it. That was it's amazing that people wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. There is no ADD in this audience. They are just hyper focused.
Man, that was awesome. Thank you so much. So we did have a handful of questions. We had questions kind of come in a little later there, but we do have a handful of questions. We'd like to bounce a couple of them off of you, John. Guys,
just stop sharing the screen or what?
Yeah, sure. Bring yourself back up. Yeah. There we go. So we're going to run through a couple. We don't have a whole lot of time left, but we'll get through maybe 2 or 3 questions. Reminder: John is going to head over to the forum, to the Fireside Lounge. We'll link to it at the end of the show. You can hop over there. So if you typed in a question we didn't get to it, take it over there and put it in there, and John will try to get to it there also. All right, so let's hop in here. First question we got is from Dave Pemberton. He's in Australia. Mm-hmm. He would love to hear your thoughts on ticks and trips. Sorry, it's
COVID, dude.
My undead tongue is tripping up on those words. But he wonder if you have any input on prefab or modular housing design, or any extension ideas or experience with that.
Actually, we are getting ready to panelize our first house that we just dug the hole for. A lot of it is just from time constraints and manpower, because we're building another one right now, and I'll be ready to frame before he's done framing the other one. And so we're panelizing it for the first time. So I'm looking forward to that. They have their own, and they're taking our drawings and using their own software to do the panelizing, but anxious to see it.
So I guess your tip would be let someone else do it.
maybe. And that might be something that, Nathan may be working on something, that Nathaniel may be working on that with Medique. I don't know about wall panelizing. That was something I ultimately wanted Framer to do, was to be a wall panelizing plugin that would kick out all the elevations of the walls and stuff. But who's got the time and the money for that?
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Do we have time for another question?
Yeah.
All right. So Nuvera says, "Hi, John. Any chance that we could see your list of tags and scenes organization, please? How often do you have to handle changes in design, and what is your best method to manage them?"
I'm going to throw this in there. John, maybe you can take a picture and share it in the forum. That way people can actually look at it and study it. And maybe you can hit the end of Nuvera's question. How do you deal with changes in design?
Yeah, that is the hardest part of, if you don't have a parametric system. Like when the client goes, "Hey, let's go to a 10-12 pitch instead of an 8-12 pitch," you're screwed. I mean, you got to go back and redo it unless you had the whole parametric thing that could do it. So we run into that a lot. The house I'm building right now, "Hey, let's go with a 30 by 30 garage." So I had to redo that. "Hey, let's add an elevator." Now that was fun. 3 floors. I had to redo the floor plans, redo the model. So I wish I had an easy answer for you, other than as you get faster and more efficient, and hopefully you won't deal with people that make these kind of changes. You'll work your way through it.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. I'm going to go throw one last one out here. And this is just a general idea. What are your thoughts on keeping file size down? Neil is wondering.
Wow. I am the last person on the planet to ask that. So Nick has a series of multiple files that he uses. I need everything to be in one file because everything is tied to Estimator. I don't want to have to break it out. So I fight it every day. Getting rid of purging unused components. A lot of people don't realize that those components are still in your model. If you downloaded a 5 megabyte refrigerator and stuck it in your model and went, "Oh, I don't like it," and delete it, it's still there, folks. You may think it's gone because you don't see it anymore, but it's living it over in your components. So if you go over into your components tray and say purge unused, it'll get rid of things that aren't used in your model. That'll be the number one thing that you can do. And use TomTom's cleanup sometimes.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Josh suggested turning off profiles or using a fast style as an example.
I cut off profiles automatically because I don't like that heavy edge. So our template has profiles unchecked because the floor plans look nice and crisp. They don't have heavy edges.
That's good. And then Larry's reminding people to use groups and components. So
absolutely. The first thing I do, I teach everybody is that as soon as you make any object, triple click on it. G is group for me, not component, because I make more groups than components. But that's a habit. As soon as you model anything, triple click on it, make it a group, put it on its layer or tag, and then move. Don't ever do one thing on top of another and forget that, or you will regret it because it'll be sticky geometry and you'll move something and totally screw something up.
That's right.
And be careful of components and groups too, because if you're modifying a column or something that's a component on the front of the house and you don't realize you've modified every one of them because you didn't make it unique.
That is a rough one. You do have to pay attention.
Yeah.
So, John, I'm going to see if I can rapid fire 2 more productions. Tell me that we have a little bit more time. The first one is Bob wants to know, Mac guys, can we get your PDF importer that you created that is for Windows?
I have been on my developer on that, and it's a lot more complexity, and he's not giving me any kind of date. I begged him, pleaded with him. I'm going to play him this because there'll be a lot of people using it, but.
See, it's software development. That's
tough.
Okay. All right. Good point. Last question. John asks, how much time on average are you spending modeling a house for a project like in the example that you showed us today? Do you have a rough?
See, those things are kind of fluid because of waiting on answers. And we do a lot of back and forth with people. But if I had to sit down, I could probably do that in maybe 3 days, 4 days, something like that. Even faster if it's just my stuff. I designed one for myself for a potential spec house, and I modeled it. I designed it in a couple of hours and had it modeled in a day. So it really just depends on what you're doing.
Right.
All right.
It's like saying, how big is big, or how long is long, or
how much is the house per square foot?
yeah, exactly.
I get that question every single day.
Yes, is the answer.
How much is a car per square foot? You know.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep. John, thanks for joining us today, everyone.
Yeah, man.
If you're in the house, let's show John Brock some love. Thank you for joining us.
All right, guys. You remember to head over to the Fireside. There's links down below right now. He's going to be there in the forum answering your questions. So get over there and let's keep this thing going. Let's get another half hour of education, and let's get more John.
All right. See you,
Awesome.
John.
Thank you,
Bye.
John.
Thanks for joining us, bud. Oh, man. You hear that?
I do.
Well, Scarin, it looks like the moon is rising, and it's time for us to crawl back into our crypts. Be sure to join us in the Fireside Lounge or the forum for more questions and answers with our man, John Brock. Aaron, what do you have to say?
Words of wisdom. In answer to the question is, what is the best way to model your house in SketchUp? Simple answer is use your brains.
Ah, nice one. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Ciao.